Alan, I was looking through ESPN this week and, always kind of worried about what are we going to talk about in the off season. But I was looking through ESPN this week, and one of the articles that was out was saying that Tommy Tuberville, do you know Tommy Tuberville when I say that name?
I do.
So, so Tommy Tuberville used to be the coach at Auburn, and Auburn, Alabama, they're not really friends, right? They're kind of like
Correct.
Clemson, Carolina. They're big time rivals in that state. Well, he is now no longer the coach, but he is now running for the Republican nomination for the U.S. Senate in Alabama. So, where the interesting twist comes in, though, and something that I think Tiger fans will relate to, is that he actually played against Alabama as a coach 6 times and won 4 games in a row, 4 Iron Bowls in a row. And most notably said after that fourth win to fear the thumb. All right. Now, I know you might kind of remember this, but fear the thumb was something that those distant cousins down lower part of the state used to say to the Tigers as well. Fear the thumb, trying to win 5 games in a row against Dabo Swinney's Tigers when Steve Spurrier was around. Now, luckily, the Tigers actually, it's like fear both thumbs for Clemson Tigers. But my question to you is, Al, and to everybody that's watching and listening right now, would you vote for a rival if they were running for Senate or running for political office? Would you vote, let's say, let me throw it to you, Al. Would you vote for Will Muschamp if he was running for South Carolina Senate?
Well, first of all, let me say it's not fear both thumbs, it's deal with both thumbs because we already have that victory in hand, by the way, for our 6th in a row. But Will Muschamp running that, but that'd be a hard pill to swallow there. Okay. Even if he lines up politically with everything you stand for and that you believe in, that's going to be a tough draw for a lot of Clemson fans. But somehow, the way I see him present himself on the sideline and whatnot, I don't think I'd be voting for Will Muschamp. But it would have nothing to do with his political ideals, because I'm sure there'll be several others running that I could vote for. Heck, I'd vote for Steve Spurrier above Will Muschamp in a heartbeat. Steve Spurrier was a pain in our side, obviously, because of all the wins against Clemson, but he seemed to be a better guy, we'll say, than Will Muschamp. So I'm not going to say I'd vote for Muschamp, but yeah, at the end of the day, man, I know we love sports and we get all crazy about them and everything like that, but who's going to represent your state is a pretty big deal in my opinion.
Oh, it's a very big deal, and I don't think I would ever trust someone like Will Muschamp to run the state.
Right.
And I give the flip side over to Dabo Swinney, the South Carolina fans. I think, to me, if you're having to decide whether or not to vote for Dabo Swinney because of your allegiance to a team,
Mm-hmm.
I think you got bigger problems, because Dabo Swinney is proven to be a great leader and a great person, and a guy that a lot of people trust all over the country, a lot of fathers trust all over the country. And I'm thinking, if he runs for office, president or whatever it may be, I would vote for him, no problem. And I would hope that most South Carolinians would vote for him.
Yeah.
Steve Spurrier, I don't know. He'd be good at playing golf, maybe. He'd be that guy that you'd probably, I don't know. I don't know if I would really necessarily vote for him.
Golf is a big time trait for a politician, though. You got to be good at playing golf.
That is true. I think, what do they say? Like, the president usually spends like, what, $300,000 of our taxpayer money on golf trips. I know
Yeah.
Donald Trump doesn't, because he pays for his own money. I'm sure he doesn't take any money from the taxpayer. But then again, he probably does in some form or fashion getting there. But what about so Nikki Haley? I'm wondering, South Carolina fans, if they really are upset about Nikki Haley, because we know she's kind of outspoken Clemson fan. I would think you're probably not really that upset about Nikki Haley being, the governor or whatever she may be, or any higher up. I don't think you'd be that upset about her.
Nah, I don't think that's as big a deal. I think it's when you're the head of a program, it's a little bit more substantial. I mean, they all know they graduated from somewhere probably in the area, and that's just kind of the way it goes. They can find their allegiance regardless of whether they claim it out loud or not. So I don't know that that's a huge deal. But I can guarantee you this: there will be more South Carolina fans vote for Dabo Swinney than there would be Clemson fans that vote for Will Muschamp. And again, that basically speaks to the character of Dabo Swinney and the guy we get to see every week. And I can guarantee you, by a large margin, there would be more that would vote for Dabo Swinney for president, because you get all the people around the U.S. that would be involved in that one.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people around the country that know and admire and respect Dabo Swinney.
Right.
It would really be great if the country could get a guy like him. Really, to be honest, I mean, I've thought about it many times that just the kind of character that he is, or in the traits that he has as a leader, I think this country really needs for sure. And Nikki Haley, like I said, she's not someone who's actually been in a prominent position on a team to kind of make a rival there or be a part of that rivalry, but is a supporter of the team. And another thing is, like, what do you think about? Okay, I'm thinking of like somebody respectable, from the Gamecocks. So it took me a couple of hours to try to find someone respectable on the list for the Gamecocks, like 6 or 7 hours to go through and make sure. I'm just kidding. There's a lot of respectable players and coaches for South Carolina for sure. I would say Marcus Lattimore would be a really respectable guy if he were to run for any kind of position. I think, I know, and correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like a guy that was a former West Side player, Mo Brown, is kind of getting into that realm, and so I wouldn't be opposed to a guy like him either. He stayed at South Carolina, I believe, for all 4 years and contributed to the team. And from what I remember of him in high school, he was a good guy. So, I wouldn't be opposed to a South Carolina person representing the state. But Will Muschamp's a definite no for me. I don't think I don't really think he'll get very many votes from anybody in Orange.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I agree with the Marcus Lattimore, Mo Brown call, of course. Like you said, West Side alumni there. I don't think Connor Shaw would be a bad choice. I think Connor Shaw's a really good guy as well, even though, of course, he kind of torched Clemson on the football field. So that kind of leaves a big sting in all our hearts. But Dylan Thompson, good kid as well. So, yeah, I mean, there's several examples out there, but it's still, there's still something about it. You feel like you're almost a traitor in some ways, but I think they'd kind of put their allegiances down and do the right thing.